Have you had any dialogue with Twitter over this? Any clarity on their problem with your wording?
Well, I wished we could get clarity. That's one of the things we've been hoping for. Of course, they banned that tweet. They basically suspended the account. They told us if we took it down, we'd be allowed to begin posting again. But, out of principle, we felt like we were simply stating the fact. We honestly were not mean-spirited or hateful in any way. We were just trying to state exactly what the Biden administration had lauded as an appointment, this person who is transgendered. I think there's an assumption in the culture, especially in the elite culture, that everybody understands what that means. And the simple fact is that's not true. Some people that don't deal with LGBT issues don't understand what that means. So we simply stated it, that Dr. Levine is born a biological man, and that is, he's a man who believes he's a woman. Somehow they said that was hateful speech. It was insightful against the transgendered community. And that's the problem. We were stating simply a fact. And, the spirit for us is one of Christ. We want to be loving and kind. We know that Jesus loves everybody, and that's the Christian position. At the same time, we got to speak truth. We've got to be able to express what it is we believe.
Right. As you go forward, what does this mean, especially with respect to your social media posts on transgender issues?
Well, we asked them to clarify how would they prefer that we state that fact, and we have not heard back from them. It's been probably 8 or 9 days now, so we're still unable to, post new material there. People can read what was already up there, but we're hoping at some point we get some clarification. My concern is they're unwilling to state that because they too then could be canceled. If they recommend to us, we would prefer the word identifies over believes, whatever it might be. They're not willing to do it. It appears at this point. They won't give us any coaching or direction on how they would like that statement of fact to be said.
Really fascinating. Well, as you know, there has been an explosion in the number of pediatric transgender clinics in this country. There's concern that healthcare professionals must provide medical interventions for any child that questions their gender, and that also that parents don't have the ability to object. What are your thoughts on this trend and this new world that we're living in?
Well, it breaks my heart, really, because there's so much evidence, and I've talked to people on the APA panel on gender dysphoria, et cetera. That's the American Psychological Association. And one of the things in the research is children can be sexually confused in their orientation, in their identity, et cetera. But typically, research is showing that about 70 to 80% of 19-year-olds will self-correct in that identity or gender dysphoria issue. Think of that. So morally, what we're doing now as a nation is locking these children into a destiny that unfortunately, I think, will find real depression at the other end. I think ironically and tragically, what's going to happen is as 20-somethings who were forced in some ways because of their inability to think through the circumstances they're in, that 11-year-old, 12-year-old, when they become 22, 23, the increase in suicide and depression, et cetera, I think will spike. And the question will be whether or not they'll have access to legal course to sue those school counselors, those school districts, those doctors that push their parents out of the discussion and, in fact, entice them basically as a 12, 13, 14-year-old to get this hormone treatment, et cetera. I think that's what the courts are going to need to look at, a class action suit of those 20-somethings that had this done to them in their teens, and now they're looking for some kind of compensation.
Complicated issues there. Well, Jim Daly, president with Focus on the Family, thanks for your time.
Good to be with you, Heather.
Thank you.